In his play, he sang at my event to fundraise for the Italy trip.
Hey, brother Black Ice, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, my brother. I'm doing good. I'm just so proud of my niece. I've adopted her as my niece, man. You know,
Everybody's adopted.
she's so gifted. She's so talented. She's so anointed. And I've literally seen her bring crowds to their feet when she stepped on stage and opened up her mouth, man. It's really a blessing from God, her gift.
She's gonna be something great, trust me. Now, you guys are doing a play together. Is this your play, Black Ice?
Yeah, I wrote and produced a stage play called He Saw the Best. We actually did the stage play at Studio Movie Grill, formerly Chatham Theater and the Ice Theater, which was on 87th right off the Dan Ryan.
Okay.
And Symphony plays the daughter in the play. And the play was an overwhelming success, packed house. And, you know, the message, I wanted to address a lot of things in our community, from molestation to the crime in Chicago, to forgiveness, to old family secrets, because you know we got those family secrets.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes we don't find out those secrets till we end up at the funeral and we see
Exactly.
two separate families.
Exactly.
So I wanted to bring out those things, the ones that were even taboo in the
So
play.
it's called He Saw the Best.
It's called He Saw the Best. Yes.
So, in terms of where's the play going to be at?
Well, right now we're going to be on a homeless shelter tour.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to bring the play and deliver the message of words of inspiration and forgiveness to those persons who I felt really needed to hear it.
Okay.
So we will be at the homeless shelter over on 63rd and Oglesby, one block east of Western.
Okay.
I forget the name of the homeless shelter. They have two shelters, one in Roseland and one over there.
Okay, is that, no, that's not, what's the name?
If you say the name, I'm going to know it.
The short black lady.
Mhm.
She's been on the show before. She has one in Inglewood. Over there, you said, is it an old?
She has one on 63rd, one block west, east of Western, and
Old
she,
Catholic church.
yeah, right on the corner, yeah.
Okay, that's
I know, you're gonna be thinking about it too.
I gotta think of her name, man. I mean, I'll think of it, but she's
Absolutely.
been doing it a long time. And she's been on the show here before. So
Absolutely.
you're gonna be doing it there?
Yeah, there, and Claire's house also as well. We've been working with Claire House.
Okay, well, that's what I was thinking, Claire's house.
Uh-huh,
Okay,
yeah.
so was Claire, she had.
Olive Branch.
Olive Branch, okay.
That's the name of
Okay.
that particular one.
So this part that Sean is playing.
Yes.
Shauna, you wanna tell us about this part?
Yes, my part, I'm playing Shauna, who's a young girl, and she has a rough relationship with her mother, a lot going on, and she's been molested by her mother's ex-boyfriend, and she goes through different trials, and she ends up communicating with her mom and letting her know what happened, even though she was like very angry at the situation. She's been through a lot, so
So this seems to be kind of prevalent in the black community.
yes,
Where,
yes.
I was talking to some people the other day,
Mhm.
and they were talking about an incident that they had heard about. And they were, in relationship to a mother's boyfriend.
Mhm.
And so the Black Ice, in terms of these boyfriends that these women get, and not only have to be concerned about little girls, but little boys now.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the gentleman who plays the pastor in the play, who's a real minister also as well, he has a testimony about his experience with being molested by a male in his family. And so we as spoken word artists and we as poets, one of the things that we definitely do is tell our story. No matter whether it's the story that we really want people to know or the story that we don't want people to know. The main thing is showing people that through our hurt and our pain, and through God allowing us to get to deal with that type of thing, that you can also do the same thing as well.
So I got a message for you, Black Ice. DJ Chili said Black Ice is a founding member of the Chicago Legends of Hip Hop,
Yes.
and one on which DJ Chili And Q is also a coach here with JMD.
Absolutely.
Wonderful guy.
In 2012, I founded the Legends of Chicago hip hop movement. Chicago was known to be a house city. And in the early 80s and in the mid 80s, we were knocking down the doors to WKKC with Pink House and knocking down the doors to WHPK saying that you got to play this music that we fell in love with by listening actually to Chili Q and JP Chill and WHBK. So today, we take those former MCs, those former rappers who had a message, and we're going into the school system with that same message and showing them that if hip hop saved our lives and poetry saved our lives, then it could do the same for you.
Okay, and so in terms of this taboo kind of stuff, like right?
Yes.
Where people don't like to talk about family members being molested, but how does it play on the psyche of the one that's being molested? How does that play?
Well, the interesting thing about it is people don't feel comfortable telling their story until they hear someone else telling their story, and especially if the story is similar to what they've been going through. My mom at the end of the play cried, and she looked at me and she said, "I thank God that God blessed me with a son who has all of this talent and this gift inside of him." And I looked right back at her in the stands. I said, "Mama, if it were not for you, there would be no play. There would be no movement. There would be no Black Ice." And then a day later, she revealed to me that because of that play, she remembers something that had happened to her in her life and that she had been molested. And that it was a memory that she had suppressed until she had seen that play. So the play is healing people, and it's allowing people to uncover the things that they had covered in their past and then facing it, and then ultimately either getting help or getting spiritual help to deal with it.
So in terms of Eddie Long, Bishop Eddie Long, who came under fire for his homosexual anti-sermons rhetoric, his book, Deliver Me from Adam, which he talks about, he can deliver men from homosexuality and that kind of stuff. And a lot of people argue the fact that he was a homophobic theological preacher in terms of what he talked about when he did his sexual reorientation conference to convert members of the gay community back to heterosexuals. And so when the four young men came forward, and who were teenagers at the time of the accusations, and like most predators, Eddie Long, he groomed them. He bought them nice things and rode them around in Bentleys, flew them on private jets. Took them to Rome, and then one day he pulled their pants down. And so when you look at Oprah Winfrey, who's a rape survivor who worth a couple $1 billion, every time with all her money, every time she speaks about it, she breaks down. So imagine a person that has no money, no resources.
Nothing.
They say 85% of the women in Alcoholic and Drug Anonymous, they wouldn't be there if they hadn't been molested by a family member. And so so when they, you gain the victim's trust, you feel in the need, and these young men's mothers said that he had became a surrogate father to them. They were living on the campus where the church was.
Role
models and private planes, expensive jewelry, luxury hotels, 5-star hotels. And then coming in with his sexual perverted behavior, he attacks these kids. And so the church stood behind it. I mean, the church, doors remained open. The people that attended the church heard what the children were saying about these horrifying allegations. But the church remained faithful to Eddie Long as though the kids didn't mean nothing. And so in terms of that, he said, the day it came out, he said, "I've been accused, I'm under attack. I feel like David against Goliath, but I got 5 rocks and I haven't thrown one yet."
Right.
So when a child is sexually abused, and then you're looking at a guy that has just left the house that they in on Saturday night, and then on Sunday he's preaching an anti-gay message after he didn't had sex with them. And then when the survivors are mocked and lied on and then the abusers escape accountability in terms of what he's done.
And nobody believes their stories.
In terms of what some well-known pastors and
Yeah.
priests in Chicago have done.
Yes.
And then they keep their positions of power. And then they manage to gain support as though they're the victims. And so how does a child, Black Ice, how's a child in the face of being molested, they come forward, and then they treat it as though they messing with somebody or calling somebody out, or they treat it with the utmost disrespect. But do we at least owe each other respect and the right to dignity as people of God, as the church should be. But if we deny these young people justice, we're telling them to go without because they're worthless, then folks need to hear the church say it loud and clear in an unequivocal voice that sexual and domestic perverted behavior by leadership of people of priests and priests is not acceptable, but these young people should be valued in terms of what they've been through. I mean, what's your take?
Well, that's a very packed question, my brother, but it's a very simple answer also as well. Since we referenced the Bible and we referenced spirituality and we referenced pastors and those who attend churches, particularly Christian faith, it turns me on to the scripture that we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. What we are dealing with is a spirit. And that spirit comes in the form of narcotics. It comes in the form of alcohol. It comes in the form of cable TV. It comes in the form of video games. It comes in the form of social media. And when you are in a position of power, you have an advantage over those whom you serve. So we as parents, we as mentors, we have to be careful when it comes to our children to teach our children that they are even flesh and blood men and they are capable of error. And so we also have to teach them of the signs to look for. When you feel uncomfortable in a situation, it's probably because the situation is uncomfortable. But I even like to turn this particular statement that I'm making into an overall view of the church and leadership and politicians also as well. I also make the statement that if you live in Chicago and you attend a church, especially in the neighborhoods of Inglewood or Austin or Auburn, Gresham or Back of the Yards or any of these neighborhoods that are riddled with crime, and your church is not involved in countering the crime that's going on in your community, then stop paying your tithes. Because this house that you're going to is supposed to be a house of rehabilitation. It's supposed to transform you from that old hurt and that old pain into a story of inspiration, into a story of motivation, so that you may go back to others and tell them about what you've been through in your life and what you've come through in your life, so that they can see a living, breathing, walking example of someone who has made it through the storm.
So, in terms of Shauna, the character,
Yes.
I mean, how do you feel when you're 15 years old and you may even know some young girls that have been through this kind of stuff?
Yes, I have. I know a couple of my friends have been raped. They have been molested by family members. Recently, my friend is going through a lot, and one of her best friend's boyfriends raped her at a party she attended, and I just prayed on it, and I told her everything was going to be okay, and I told her she had to tell someone, because if you don't tell anybody, you can't get any help. So I've been encountering situations throughout my 2 years of high school. I'm a sophomore now. So I feel like it's really important to not only tell people, but tell people who are in the law, police officers, anyone you could tell,
Counselors.
counselors, principals, deans, teachers. I told her, you can't be scared to fight. You have to fight. And I told her I was going to fight with her. And we've just been praying and hoping that she would receive justice because of the terrible tragedy that happened to her not too long ago.
Yeah, we had a young lady on the show here
Stop it. Start it
a little while ago, and I think she spoke on the steps of it.